When we talk about the difference between the rich dad mindset and the poor dad mindset, it's not really about money first. It's about perspective. It's about the way you see problems, the way you see opportunities, and the way you respond when life pushes you into a corner. Imagine two people standing in front of the same locked door. One says, "Well, that's it. I guess I can't go any further." While the other says, "There has to be another way in. Maybe a window, maybe a back door, maybe I can build my own door." That difference right there is what separates the poor dad mindset from the rich dad mindset. The poor dad believes the door is the end of the journey, while the rich dad sees the door as an invitation to figure out another way. The poor dad mindset often sounds like, "I can't afford this." It feels final, like a period at the end of a sentence. But the rich dad mindset rephrases that exact thought into a question. How can I afford this? One shuts down curiosity, the other invites creativity. And that's the secret. Wealth is less about the money in your bank and more about the questions you're willing to ask yourself every single day. Poor dad focuses on limits. Rich dad focuses on possibilities. Poor dad sees the cost. Rich dad sees the value. Poor dad works for money. Rich dad makes money work for him. And the funny thing is, both dads might put in the same hours, the same effort, and the same sweat, but the outcome looks drastically different because one is playing checkers while the other is playing chess. Think about how many of us were raised to believe security comes from a steady paycheck, a safe job, and a retirement plan. That's the poor dad mindset. It's about surviving, not thriving. It's about protecting yourself from risk rather than learning how to manage it. Rich dad, on the other hand, embraces risk with strategy. He doesn't run from it. He studies it, calculates it, and then leverages it. That's why one mindset is stuck trading time for money while the other builds systems, investments, and opportunities that generate money even when they're asleep. Let me put it this way, poor dad says, go to school, get good grades, and you'll get a good job. Rich dad says, go to school if you want, but more importantly, learn how money works, learn how people think, learn how to solve problems that others run away from. One prepares you to be an employee, the other prepares you to be an owner. One prepares you to consume, the other prepares you to create. And the beauty of it is, this isn't about blaming parents. It's about recognizing the mental inheritance we've received and asking ourselves, do I keep this mindset or do I upgrade it? Because mindset is like software. If you're running on outdated software, you will always crash when life throws a bigger problem your way. Poor dad software tells you, I can't take risks. I might lose everything. Rich dad software tells you, if I don't take risks, I've already lost the chance to grow. Poor dad looks at money as something scarce, something you hold on to tightly, something that defines your worth. Rich dad sees money as a tool, a resource, something that flows in and out, but never defines the person holding it. The poor dad mindset often gets trapped in comparison. I don't have as much as him, so I must be failing. Rich dad says, what can I learn from him so I can get better? One mindset leads to jealousy, the other to growth. And here's the kicker, you don't need a rich dad to have a rich dad mindset. You can decide today to shift the way you think. You can decide to stop seeing problems as permanent and start seeing them as puzzles. You can decide to stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? You can decide to stop working only for money and start working for skills, knowledge, and opportunities. You can decide to invest in yourself, your learning, your relationships, your resilience, because those are the foundations that money eventually rests on. Now, I'm not saying the poor dad mindset is wrong. It's protective, it's cautious, and in many ways, it comes from love. Parents who taught us to go get a job and play it safe weren't trying to limit us, they were trying to protect us. But protection isn't the same as growth. Protection keeps you safe in the short term, but it often keeps you stuck in the long term. Rich dad mindset isn't reckless. It's calculated. It doesn't say, throw caution to the wind. It says, understand the rules of the game, then find smart ways to bend them. Every day, you and I face choices that reveal our mindset. Do we spend or do we invest? Do we complain about the problem or do we search for a solution? Do we say, that's impossible, or do we ask, what would make it possible? These tiny, almost invisible choices shape the trajectory of our lives. Over time, they compound, just like interest in a bank account. Poor dad thinking compounds into fear, stagnation, and regret. Rich dad thinking compounds into courage, creativity, and eventually freedom. So if you're listening to this and wondering, which mindset do I really carry? Check your language. Check the words you use every day. Do you tell yourself, I can't afford it, I don't know how, I'm not that type of person? Or do you train yourself to ask, what's a small step I can take? Who can I learn from? What if I became that type of person? Your language exposes your mindset, and your mindset predicts your future. And here's the truth. Nobody's locked into one mindset forever. You can switch lanes at any time. You can rewrite the script that's been running in your head. You can choose to be the author of your story instead of the actor reading lines someone else wrote for you. And that choice, to adopt the rich dad mindset, isn't about being greedy, it's about being free. Free to live without the constant weight of scarcity. Free to pursue the work that lights you up. Free to stop living paycheck to paycheck and start building a life that compounds in value the way rich dad thinking compounds over time. So the question isn't, do you have a rich dad or a poor dad? The real question is, which dad are you listening to in your own head? Because we all have both voices inside us. One tells us to play it safe, to settle, to survive. The other tells us to be bold, to create, to thrive. And every single day, you get to choose which one leads you forward. About application, how that mindset actually plays out in real life, in your decisions, in your future. Because a mindset isn't just an idea you hold in your head, it's a filter. It colors how you see the world, how you react, how you decide, and ultimately, what you become. The poor dad mindset and the rich dad mindset don't just think differently, they live differently. And the truth is, your life today is already proof of the mindset you've been running on up until now. Let's start with the way each mindset handles failure. Poor dad sees failure as proof that you should have never tried in the first place. It's shameful. It's final. It's a sign that maybe you weren't cut out for this. Rich dad, he sees failure as tuition, not a penalty, but a payment toward your education. If you fall flat, you paid for a lesson. If a business collapses, you just bought experience. Poor dad avoids failure like the plague. Rich dad collects failures like data. And that's why poor dad's world shrinks over time while rich dad's world expands. Because one keeps avoiding the fire and the other learns how to walk through it without getting burned. Then there's the way each mindset looks at time. Poor dad trades time for money like it's a fair exchange. Work 8 hours, get 8 hours of pay. But rich dad understands that time is the one asset you can't get back, so you don't just trade it, you leverage it. Rich dad asks, how can I build something once that pays me over and over again? That's why he invests in skills, assets, and systems. Because while poor dad is focused on earning a wage, rich dad is focused on creating value that multiplies beyond his personal effort. And the irony is, rich dad works harder at the start, but eventually works less because his mindset trained him to think long term. Now, let's talk about comfort zones. Poor dad stays inside them because that's where it feels safe. A steady job, a predictable paycheck, routines that don't stretch too far. But rich dad understands that comfort is the enemy of growth. He leans into the discomfort, not because it feels good, but because he knows the real rewards live there. Poor dad says, I'll do it when I feel ready. Rich dad says, I'll start before I'm ready and grow into it. And that single shift, waiting versus acting, creates a life that looks worlds apart. The poor dad mindset also treats learning as something that ends. You graduate, you're done. Diploma in hand, case closed. Rich dad treats learning as a lifelong pursuit. He doesn't just collect certificates, he collects skills, mentors, and perspectives. Poor dad wants validation, rich dad wants transformation. Poor dad asks, will this be on the test? Rich dad asks, how can I use this in real life? And that's why one ends up stuck repeating the same cycle year after year, while the other reinvents himself every decade, every season, every opportunity. Another thing, the poor dad mindset often looks at other people's success as intimidating, even unfair. He's lucky. She had connections. That could never be me. That's envy speaking. Rich dad looks at the same success and feels inspired, even challenged. If they figured it out, maybe I can too. If they climb that mountain, maybe I can learn how. That's aspiration speaking. And here's what's wild. Envy shrinks you. Aspiration stretches you. One leaves you bitter. The other leaves you better. Same world, different lenses. Let's move to money. Poor dad sees money as something to spend or save. It's a means of survival. But rich dad sees money as something to grow. It's a seed. If you plant it right, it multiplies. If you eat it all, it's gone. Poor dad says, I'll spend what I earn. Rich dad says, I'll invest so my money earns for me. Poor dad asks, what can I buy today? Rich dad asks, what can I build for tomorrow? And it's not about greed. It's about responsibility. Because rich dad knows money is a tool, and like any tool, it depends on how you use it. A hammer can build a house or break a window. It's not the hammer, it's the hands holding it. Relationships are another area where these mindsets clash. Poor dad thinks networking is transactional. What can this person give me right now? Rich dad knows relationships are transformational. What can we build together over time? Poor dad often avoids people smarter than him because it threatens his ego. Rich dad seeks them out because it strengthens his growth. Poor dad surrounds himself with comfort. Rich dad surrounds himself with challenge. And over years, that difference compounds into entirely different circles, opportunities, and outcomes. And then there's fear. Poor dad lets fear dictate his choices. What if I lose? What if I look stupid? What if people judge me? Rich dad feels the same fear, but makes decisions in spite of it. He understands fear as a compass pointing to where growth lies. Poor dad avoids fear and avoids growth. Rich dad embraces fear and expands into new territory. And eventually, the fears that once paralyzed him become the memories that fuel his confidence. Now, here's the part most people miss. The poor dad mindset is often disguised as wisdom. It's the voice of caution, responsibility, and realism. But if you look closely, it's just fear dressed up as logic. Rich dad mindset, on the other hand, looks reckless to outsiders because it takes risks. But beneath those risks is strategy, research, and courage. One lives in scarcity, the other lives in abundance. One protects what little it has, the other builds more than it needs. And the only reason rich dad builds more isn't greed. It's so he can give more, create more, impact more. You see, the ultimate difference isn't just financial, it's emotional. Poor dad mindset is heavy with worry, regret, and limitation. Rich dad mindset is light with curiosity, confidence, and freedom. Poor dad spends life trying not to lose. Rich dad spends life playing to win. Poor dad sees walls, rich dad sees doors. Poor dad sees problems. Rich dad sees puzzles. Poor dad asks, why me? Rich dad asks, why not me? And here's the encouragement. You don't have to be born into wealth to inherit the rich dad mindset. You don't need someone else to hand it to you. You can choose it today, right now. You can start by changing your questions, by shifting your language, by taking one small risk, one small investment in yourself, one small decision to act instead of wait. Because mindset doesn't flip overnight. It compounds with every choice. Every time you choose growth over fear, you strengthen it. Every time you choose possibility over limitation, you strengthen it. And eventually, it becomes who you are. So don't ask yourself, do I have a rich dad or a poor dad? Ask yourself, which mindset do I want to pass on? Which voice do I want my kids, my friends, my team, my community to remember me by? Because one day, you will be the dad someone looks back on. Whether you have children or not, you will be the model, the voice, the example. And in that moment, your choice of mindset will matter more than you realize. The invitation is simple but powerful. Stop living as a prisoner to the poor dad mindset and start leading as an example of the rich dad mindset. Don't just work for money, work for freedom. Don't just seek security, seek growth. Don't just protect yourself, position yourself. And when you do, you won't just change your bank account, you'll change your story. You'll change the way you wake up, the way you walk into rooms, the way you face setbacks, and the way you inspire others. Because at the end of the day, the rich dad mindset isn't about being rich. It's about being free. Free to think bigger. Free to act bolder. Free to build a life that outlasts you. And that freedom is waiting for anyone willing to step out of the cage of fear and into the open space of possibility.